Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, human beings are a species with amnesia. Tonight I want to explain this theory, this hypothesis that I have delved into with days and days and weeks of research. And I just want to tell you a little bit about why it's so interesting to me. So to break this down, the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. The Younger Dryas was a time period from 12,800 to 11,600 years ago or so. It's characterized by erratic climate shifts, erratic and sudden climate shifts to the tune of 12 degrees centigrade, about 18 degrees Fahrenheit in a very, very short period of time. Now, over this time period, the sea levels rose 400 feet, there was mass extinctions of plants and animals, which is part of what gives the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis its name, because the Younger Dryas is the Dryas time period is an older Dryas and a Younger Dryas time period. But the Dryas is a flower that grows in Arctic conditions, and it went extinct in mainland Europe over this period of time. The impact part. This is the belief that these erratic shifts in climate were caused by an extraterrestrial impact, meaning an asteroid, a meteor, a comet, or more accurately, a series of impacts across the North American ice sheet. And somewhat in Asia. Now the hypothesis part is because this isn't proven, and it's kind of controversial in scientific circles in that it flies in the face of the mainstream belief of gradually our landscape, our climate has gradually shifted over a very long period of time, one grain of sand at a time, one drop of water at a time. I don't want to get too in the weeds on any one aspect of this, but that's kind of the overall theory. Here's why I think this is really interesting. It made me ask a bunch of questions, just very basic, compelling questions about my understanding or maybe collective understanding of human history and the history of our planet. So, for example, human beings have been around for at least 130,000 years. I mean, we have human skeletons from that are 130,000 years old. We know about maybe 7,000 years of history. So comparing us 7,000 years ago to 3,000 years before, we had comparable brain sizes. I mean, we were presumably as intelligent. So what made us so much smarter 7,000 years ago? Or really, what happened to the 7,000 generations of history that we lost? I mean, we went from horseback as a primary means of travel to space flight in 5-6 generations. We're just missing a giant chunk of 7,000. Where is that? Here's another one. Okay, so I was always taught that glaciers carved valleys and mountain ranges all over the nation, all over the world. What made the glaciers move? I mean, they're not attached to tectonic plates, and you've got to have a good amount of momentum or inertia to carve a valley out. So what would make something that big move with that much force? I honestly never asked that before I started looking into this. I presume it would be a tremendous amount of water. Maybe that comes from torrential sustained downpours. Maybe it's slowly melting glacial ice, but if the glaciers were melting on their own, what made the climate change? You know, if human beings aren't burning fossil fuels, and that's, I'm told on good authority, that's the cause of climate change. What changed the climate then? Here's another question. Who killed the woolly mammoth? I mean, and not only that, 75% of mega mammal species on the North American continent went extinct within 100 years, or potentially less. I mean, the woolly 3 species of woolly mammoth in North America alone, the cave bear, the giant sloth. The going theory on this currently is human being or bands of hunter-gatherers swept across the Bering Strait. What happened to the Bering Strait, by the way? The land bridge between North America and Asia. But we swept across the Bering Strait and proceeded to wipe out every single 75% of all mammals over 50 pounds from the tips of Canada all the way through South America as hunter-gatherer bands. Which wouldn't explain they've found fields of mammoths entombed together that weren't consumed. So couldn't have been just hunting, and you have to kill them off really quickly. You have to deplete the population enough where it can't respawn itself, which couldn't take a long period of time. It just, that's kind of the way it goes. So I feel like I should have asked some of these questions when I was learning sort of the going narrative of all this stuff. But I feel like science is somewhat at a point today where it is so specialized, where the person studying mammal extinctions isn't the person studying extraterrestrial impacts, is not the person studying the growth of fauna or anything like that. And I feel like we need a synthesizer of a lot of this information that can kind of weave information from a bunch of different fields together into a bigger picture that passes the sniff test, so that makes sense to you, the consumer. I encourage you all to go out and do your own research on this, but I hope you learned a little bit more about the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis and why I find it interesting. Madam Toastmaster.
Wow, that is certainly some food for thought and is going to leave me really pondering things this evening and probably on Google a little bit when I get home.